everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to be doing a quick comparison between an Acura NSX and a Nissan GTR. First and foremost though, a huge shout out and thank you to the owner of the NSX, Kyle, for giving me some time with his car. Go check out his Instagram in the description down below. Let's get straight into the video. Very, very convenient to get to the engine. Well, this is kind of weird reviewing a mid-engine car and comparing it to a front-engine car, but anyways, under the, well, not the hood, but I guess the trunk of the NSX, we have a twin-turbo 3.5-liter V6 that's paired to a hybrid system and a 9-speed automatic transmission. Total system output is 573 horsepower and then 476 pound-feet of torque. Now, this NSX does have a tune, so it's got a little bit more than that on pump gas, but we're not really going to worry about that too much. We're just going to kind of go off of the stock numbers. Anyways, coming over to the GTR, we have a twin-turbo 3.8-liter V6 that goes through a 6-speed dual-clutch automatic. Total power outputs with this are 565 horsepower and then 467 pound-feet of torque. So the GTR is slightly down on power and torque and gears compared to the NSX, but less complexity because this one doesn't have a hybrid system, whereas the NSX does. So yeah, that's under the hood of the GTR and the NSX. And these cars look so cool together, but let's quickly go over the exterior elements. You can see over here on the NSX, it definitely looks like a spaceship. You've got the venting here on either side with the top, and then you've got the LED accent light that comes down right here with all of the LED headlights. Again, just has that cool spaceship look, and they kind of like made the headlight area very small to give it that aerodynamic look. And then you've got the Acura beak there on the front end, tons of venting here all across the front, just to, again, give it that sleek spaceship type design. Now, coming over to the GTR, a little bit different. So we've got the Nakaducks here in the center on the hood. We still have really cool LED accent lighting with the LED lights, but just kind of notice with everything here, it's not necessarily as sleek. It kind of has, I guess, like a boxier type look compared to the NSX, but I don't think it looks bad by any means. And then you do have the LED accent lights down here, and then I love all the bodywork here at the bottom with the front splitter and all that. But yeah, both of them from a front end perspective just look fantastic in their own right. Now, aside from that, if we go to the tire and wheel setup, we've got 20-inch wheels here on the GTR. So we've got two 55 millimeters for the front and then two 85 millimeters for the rear, but 20-inch wheels front and back. Coming over to the NSX, we've got 19-inch wheels here in the front with two 45 millimeter tires, and then in the back it's actually 20-inch wheels and we've got 305s in the back, so a little bit more of a staggered setup, right? We've got tiny tires in the front and then huge ones in the back, whereas this, smaller tires in the front and bigger ones in the back, but it's not nearly as much of a difference. Notice they both have the cool door handles, but they actually open up in the opposite way. So with the NSX, hopefully it's unlocked. Yes, it is. You guys can see it opens up that way, but then with the GTR it opens up the opposite way. So definitely cool with that. And then you guys can see, again, with the bodywork here on the side, two completely different design languages. With this, you've got like the flying buttress there that goes to the venting to the engine, where obviously since this is front engine, it doesn't need all of that kind of stuff. So it looks completely different from a design standpoint. But again, I like them for different reasons. This is just like a sharp edge that goes to the back, whereas this, you've got the nice flowing lines to the flying buttress and it just looks absolutely crazy. Now, coming to the back end, notice we've got a carbon fiber spoiler here on the back of the NSX, and then coming down below, we've got the quad exhaust tips, which look absolutely fantastic. The LED light bar as well. Again, it kind of continues with that spaceship type look. And then coming over to the GTR, we've got this massive spoiler here in the back with the circular taillights. And then notice with the quad exhaust tips, they are titanium, which is definitely a cool look. But again, it kind of continues the theme of the boxiness with the GTR versus this. Everything kind of flows. Now, I mainly want this video to be about driving, so I'm not going to spend too much time on the interiors. All you need to know, leather everywhere here with the GTR. I've got the GTR logo, and then here are the seats in the GTR, and a huge difference, the GTR is a 2+2, so you actually get back seats with the GTR, whereas the NSX is just 2-seater. And then here's kind of the rest of the dash. So leather wrap steering wheel, and then you guys can see the paddles there on the back of the steering wheel, and then the shifter there again for the 6-speed dual clutch automatic transmission. Tons of carbon fiber here in the center portion, but yeah, it kind of has more of like a traditional shifter. And then we've got the drive mode select down below. If you guys want a more in-depth look, then I've got a review on the GTR. Just check that out on my channel. But you guys can kind of see a general look there at the cockpit with the GTR. Coming over here to the NSX, notice we've got leather, Alcantara, and then we've got the red leather there at the bottom. And then here are the seats. And again, this is just a 2-seater compared to the GTR, which is a 4-seater. You guys can see the whole setup with the leather and the Alcantara looks really cool. And then just down below with the pedals, all that. And then we do have the massive pedals on the back of the steering wheel, carbon fiber on the steering wheel, and then you guys can see the whole center console. And then with the buttons for the gear selector and then also for the drive mode select. But again, just wanted to give you guys a general look at the cockpit before we drive both of them. They kind of have like a different feel and layout. The one thing I will mention is the NSX is definitely lower than the GTR, like you sit lower in the car. So like the GTR feels more like a regular car in terms of your seating position. This, on the other hand, definitely feels lower to the ground and gives you that kind of feel. Now, before we take these out and drive them, let's quickly talk about pricing. So this NSX, when brand new, was well over $200,000 for the sticker price. This GTR brand new, stickers for about $120,000. So brand new, there was a huge price difference between both of them. However, the price of a brand new 2021 GTR is about the same price as what you can pick up a used 2017 NSX for. Obviously, again, not exactly a fair comparison, but used 2017 NSXs are going anywhere from like $120 to $140 roughly. So they're kind of in the same price bracket as the GTR. So I guess this is a really good comparison because, well, this is a used 2017 NSX and this is a brand new 2021 GTR, but let's take them out and drive them now. Let's talk about visibility here in the NSX before we set off. There's your visibility of the hood. Since it's mid-engine, really easy to see out the front. And then here is through both of the mirrors, which look really cool. And then here's throughout the rest of the rear. And that being said, well, let's set off. So we are first setting off here in the NSX. And you guys know I'm a huge fan of this car. Now again, with the hybrid powertrain, it has an interesting driving experience. So first off, you can see it'll go into EV mode all the time, so you'll kind of just have the engine shut on and off when you are in the sport driving mode. But on top of that, the electric motors fill the torque gaps between the gear shifts, so it's extremely smooth from a transition perspective with each of the gear shifts. It definitely gives you a different driving experience. Now we're gonna pop it over into the track mode, of course, because that's the most fun driving mode to have. You guys can see it's in the track mode, and then also pop it over into the manual mode so that I am shifting the gears. Now this dual clutch, really quick, and again, like I said, very smooth with the gear shifts because of the torque fill that you get from the electric motors. Aside from that, I kind of showed you guys visibility, but visibility in this for a supercar is actually really good. Most mid-engine cars kind of suck, but this actually does a pretty good job. You guys can see the downshifts definitely are pretty quick. Get the squeaking from the brakes. That's what you have when you have high performance brakes. I love the sounds. Now again, this one does have some light modifications, so it is a little bit louder than stock because it does have an exhaust and all that. But you know what? We do with what we get. Wow. Wow. Don't worry about what that lady said. She's completely wrong. I forgot how fast this car is. Wow. It is fast. Like, it is stupid fast. And I've been driving that GTR all week, and this thing is just crazy fast. We're just gonna take that out for a minute for the video. But man, wow. It's just crazy. So I'm gonna slow down here a little bit so we can get another just minor acceleration. It sounds so good, man. This thing is just crazy. Something to mention about the steering with the NSX is as you get up to higher speeds, it weights up more to the extent to where you are barely moving your hands to actually turn at all. So like at low speeds, it's really light, but then and at higher speeds, right, the steering is heavier, but on top of that, you don't put in any bit of effort or input, and the car just turns. So there is that difference driving dynamic wise with the NSX. It takes a second to get used to, but once you get used to it, it's pretty cool, and it's definitely different from a driving experience perspective, because like you guys saw the canyon review I did with this car, like I barely moved my hands when I was going through the canyon, but then you guys can see at that slow speed corner, it is nice and light, and yeah, just definitely interesting from a driving perspective. But let's get into setting things up with the NSX. So crazy fast with the acceleration. You definitely can feel that this is mid-engine. It's got really nice balance front to back in terms of the weight distribution. The all-wheel drive, super sticky. The gear shifts very smooth, again, because of the torque fail you get from the electric motors. And, you know, I'm just going to say this right now. I'm pretty sure this is, again, this is tuned, so it's got that going for it, but I'm pretty sure this is faster than the GTR. Like, the acceleration is, the GTR is fast. The GTR is no slouch, but this is kind of just a little bit more, I will say that. But yeah, with all that being said, we'll go pop into the GTR, and then I'll kind of summarize after I drive that, talk about how that drives, and then I'll kind of summarize everything and basically let you guys know my final thoughts. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off here on the GTR. So there's your visibility over the hood, and then through both of the mirrors, and then throughout the rest of the rear. Obviously, the visibility over the hood with the NSX is a little bit better because it's mid-engine, but this overall has better visibility because it's, well, more like a regular car. That all being said, let's set off. We are initially setting off here in the GTR. We're gonna do the same exact driving route with the GTR, and of course, we'll pop it over into the manual mode because that's my preferred driving mode, well, with any car like this. So initially setting off in the GTR, something that I noticed right off the bat is the fact that this is a little bit more compliant and a little bit smoother from a suspension standpoint than the NSX. Now the NSX being mid-engine stays nice and planted, but it doesn't have the same solid feel. And I mean, the GTR does weigh quite a bit more, so I think that that kind of is part of the reason, but also this just seems like it's a little bit more comfortable from a suspension standpoint. So between the visibility and then also with the suspension, this is a little bit more daily drivable from that perspective. Now, again, the big difference you're gonna notice with the cars is the transmission. So this is very quick to shift, and so is the NSX. However, this doesn't have electric motors to fill the torque gaps between gear shifts. And so it's not as smooth as the NSX, but it's just as quick from a gear shift perspective. So you definitely do have that difference. And then also with the steering, right? This is just heavier all the time. It doesn't have that trick steering system that the NSX has. In terms of directness, it feels relatively the same at low speeds, but when you're at high speeds, the NSX obviously does its trick system where it makes so you barely have to put any inputs to get the car to turn. This doesn't have that, but this is extremely direct. So like, don't think that this is not a direct steering rack. Sounds cool. Obviously this is a stock exhaust, so again, it's not a fair comparison because the NSX has an aftermarket exhaust, but this sounds really good stock. Then we'll punch it. Hooey! Super quick. So, yeah, again, driving the back-to-back, the NSX is a little bit quicker, but again, that one has a tune on it, so it's a little bit quicker than stock, but I drove his NSX when it was stock in terms of the power outputs, and I still think the NSX would be a little bit quicker than the GTR from an acceleration standpoint, but it's very, very close. They're both extremely quick cars. They both get crazy all-wheel drive grip. So yeah, definitely both fun from an acceleration standpoint. On the highway, I would say this is a little bit quieter and a little bit smoother than the NSX, but both of them are very comfortable from a highway perspective. So they're both, you know, pretty good on daily drivability. The GTR, again, just a little bit better from the suspension standpoint, but then the NSX is a little bit better from the transmission standpoint because it's smoother. I love the little pops that this does out of that titanium exhaust. And then you do feel the weight with the GTR. You can definitely tell that it weighs more. However, this all-wheel drive system and the wishbone suspension just perform magic. Just from like sheer speed you can carry into corners with both of them, from the driving down with both of them, I feel like if you took both of these down a canyon road or on a track, you'd actually get very similar times. Like, I don't know how Nissan does it. It's front engine and it's heavier, but somehow it would be able to keep up the NSX. It's crazy, the grip and the speed you can carry through corners with the GTR. And so let's get into summing things up. First off, exterior aesthetics perspective, right? The NSX has its cool spaceship mid-engine look. This has its cool JDM front engine crazy look, right? It's Godzilla. They both look crazy in their own rights. From a beauty perspective, right, I feel like that is just going to be up to personal opinion. Interior wise, they both have pretty similar interiors actually. They both have tons of leather, carbon fiber on certain elements, leather wrapped steering wheels. They've got giant paddle shifters. So they're actually not all that different from an interior perspective. Again, this one has the extra seats. Now, aside from the interior, from a driving perspective, this one feels better from a suspension standpoint. It feels more daily drivable from a suspension standpoint, whereas the NSX feels smoother from a gear shift perspective, and so it just kind of depends on what's more important to you. Acceleration wise, the NSX does feel a little bit quicker compared to the GTR. Grip wise, they feel pretty similar. I don't know how Nissan does it. They managed to make this car just crazy from a grip perspective. And then again, like I said earlier in the video, there's a huge price difference. And so here's what I have to say. The NSX is slightly better in terms of the performance, but it's less daily drivable, but it's a lot more expensive. This, again, a little bit more daily drivable, performance is a little bit less, but this is also significantly less money. And so I guess what I'd have to say overall is it just depends on what your budget is, but this one is going to be a little bit of a better value, whereas the NSX, you know, kind of as a whole package is a little bit better, but it's a lot more money. Now let's get into sum things up for our comparison with this 2021 GTR and this 2017 Acura NSX. Super cool video. And again, a huge shout out and thank you to Kyle for giving me some time with his NSX. Go check out his Instagram in the description down below. I'll see all of you in that next video.